Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today I've got another fragrance buying guide for you, and we're going to be talking about Lattafa Perfumes. Lattafa is pretty much the biggest Middle Eastern dupe house in existence today. They have a crazy number of fragrances, with new ones coming out basically every week. And why are they so popular? Well, because they don't cost very much, but they smell very similar a lot of times to much more expensive designer or niche fragrances. And most people are in agreement that Lattafa is typically a cut above most of the other brands that are out there. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over with you guys 15 different Lattafa fragrances. I'm going to tell you how much you should expect to pay for each one. I'm also going to tell you what they smell similar to, and also tell you whether or not I think they're worth it. Some are generally a little bit better than others. All of these are going to be linked in the description below. Feel free to check them out down there. And as time goes on, I'll do more entries into this series covering more of the Lattafa fragrances. So if I don't cover something in this buying guide, it'll be in a future one. Like I said, they got a lot of stuff, man, okay? The first thing we need to talk about really quickly is where you should buy Lattafa fragrances. Generally, your best bet is going to be at fragrance discounters, at least if you're in the US. So that's going to be places like Fragrance Buy, JOMASHOP, Triple Traders, The Perfume Box, Beauty House, places like that. They're going to be a little bit cheaper, and I would go back and forth and compare, because sometimes at one discounter, you may have something that's like $5 more, at another, it might be a little bit less. So if you're looking for the absolute best price possible, do a little contrasting and comparing. Also, I have started to see them pop up at TJ Maxx, believe it or not. So there's a possibility you might run into one or two there, which is a rack store. And if you shop at any of those fragrance discounters that I mentioned just now, here are some codes you can use to save money at each of those different sites, or at least the ones that have given me a code to give you. So use those codes anytime you shop at those websites to save yourself a little money. Let's get started. First fragrance is Lattafa Khamrah. This is probably the most popular Lattafa fragrance that's out there right now, or at least in the top 3. This smells very similar to By Kilian's Angel Share, and also Gisa Sava. More people are going to be familiar with Angel Share. Sava came out, I think, a year after Angel Share, and it's also similar to Angel Share, but has a little bit more of a sweet aspect to it, not quite as much of like a woodiness. So Khamrah kind of falls in that wheelhouse, in that style, and a lot of people love this so much that they don't even want to compare it to either of those fragrances. But realistically, you can just take a look at this presentation and everything and know where it derived its inspiration from. You can expect to pay about $30 for Khamrah. It used to be a little more expensive, but the price has come down and stabilized at about 30 bucks. This one has notes of cinnamon, dates, praline, nutmeg, vanilla, tonka, and myrrh. And just looking at that note breakdown, you know right away that it's a very rich, warm, sweet fragrance, better suited for fall and winter. Makes a great date night fragrance, and it is a huge compliment puller. Khamrah does get a lot of hype, but I think it's warranted. This one is really, really good. Then we have Khamrah and Qahwa. This one, a little more expensive. This is gonna run you about $40 compared to the $30 that the normal Khamrah is gonna run you. And really, if you wanna simplify it, you could think of this as being basically like Khamrah, but with an addition of roasted coffee. The note breakdown does have a couple differences, but among the notes, you're going to find cinnamon, praline, vanilla, tonka, cardamom, candied fruit, and that coffee that I mentioned before. So pretty much everything I said about Khamrah, you can apply to this as well. Perfect for fall and winter, good evening fragrance, big compliment puller, nice sweetness. It just has that additional coffee that you can pick up pretty early on. Between the two, I think both are great, but I lean a little bit more toward this one just because that additional note does make it a little more interesting for me. But in terms of best bang for your buck, that's probably gonna be this one over here, because it is technically 33% less. And for most people, that little additional coffee is not gonna make a huge difference. You know, it's not gonna make or break the fragrance. Next up, let's talk about Ameer Oudh Intense. This one is really, really, really cheap. About 16 bucks. So yeah. It's basically a bargain bin fragrance. It's in the clearance aisle. And that one is similar to Maison Martin Margiela's By the Fireplace. It has notes of oud, vanilla, woods, and sugar. Technically, it has a really simplified note breakdown, but it's gonna give you that warmth, that sweetness from By the Fireplace with a little bit of smokiness as well. Even though it has oud as one of the main notes, and it's named Ameer Oudh Intense Oud. So like they're really pushing that. It's not animalic, it's not fecal, barnyardy, anything like that. It's just a nice, very inexpensive alternative to by the fireplace. And this was one of the earlier Lattafas that kind of took off. This was back when they weren't quite as big as they are nowadays. And this is one of the ones that people talked about years ago. It is really well done, and for the price point, a great alternative. We'll follow that up with Musamam, this one about $35. And this doesn't exactly smell the same as one thing. It's actually kind of like a twist, a blend, whatever you want to call it. A lot of times with cologne fragrances, they won't be a one-to-one with something else out there. You can tell it'll be inspired by something, but they'll change things up to make it into its own thing. This is that, but maybe a little more than usual. So in terms of the note breakdown, it's got amberwood, saffron, akigala wood, incense, and labdanum. So when this was first put out there, it was kind of presented as an alternative to Yves Saint Laurent's M7, which has been discontinued for a long time. But it's not exactly M7. It's kind of like M7 with the Gucci Guilty Absolute twist or a touch of that. So it has this leathery aspect that not everybody loves. It's definitely going to be a little bit more divisive. It's a little bit harder to wear than some of the other Lattafas out there. It has that leathery aspect mixing with smokiness and the woods. Definitely going to come across more as a wintertime fragrance. And it's one that if it works for you, it's going to be fantastic. But for a lot of people, it's going to be a little bit too much. I think it smells nice. Is it going to be anywhere near the kind of like attention-grabbing fragrance that a lot of these others are? No. Then we have Oud for Glory, which you can take a look at and know right away is a clone of Oud for Greatness from Initio. This one is going to run you about $23. Note breakdown-wise, it has saffron, nutmeg, oud, patchouli, and lavender, and it's a really well-done clone of Oud for Greatness. It's got great projection, really solid longevity, atomizer, not so great, but it's 23 bucks, so I can overlook that. It absolutely nails Oud for Greatness for the price point and is one of the best Oud for Greatness clones on the market. It's very, very popular, one of the most popular Lattafas out there. So if you want Oud for Greatness on the cheap, absolutely check this one out. And then there's Oud for Honor and Glory. Technically, Body All Oud Honor and Glory is the name. This one is a little more expensive than Oud for Glory. This runs you about $28. Note-wise, it has pineapple, creme brulee, cinnamon, vanilla, and sandalwood. And this is one of those fragrances that's almost what you would consider a creation. So that's basically slang for a fragrance house that typically makes clones doing their own thing, right? So this may very well be inspired by this and that and this and that, but by the time it all comes together, it ends up smelling like its own thing. So it's a creation of Lattafa instead of being inspired by something else. It has a really sweet, creamy pineapple, which mixes together with that creme brulee right off the top. It's very attention grabbing. Has kind of a tropical feel to it, but at the same time has, like I said, this creamy kind of sweetness that works through it that gives it a little more heft. So you could use it a lot of different situations. It does smell very unique. Some people have compared it to the smell of Tribeca from Bond Number 9. Or like a little bit of Hassavat mixed with a little bit of Ani, if it were given a much creamier, more tropical twist. It's a fragrance that works for both men and women. It's one that's really highly regarded, and for that price point, sub 30 bucks, you can't go wrong. Let's go with another crazy cheap one. Probably gonna butcher the name here, I apologize for that. Qaa'ed, another one from Lattafa that is under $20. You can get this one for about 18. Note breakdown wise, this one has oud, cinnamon, cardamom, saffron, vanilla, and leather, and it smells similar to Nuit DC Polaris from Issey Miyake, which is a fragrance that came out and got a lot of love and then pretty much was immediately impossible to find, which is kind of like par for the course when it comes to Issey Miyake. They'll put stuff out that smells amazing for fall and winter, and within like a month or two, you can never find it again. That has happened like, I don't even know, like 6 or 7 times at this point. But yeah, similar to Polaris. So again, another one better for fall and winter. It's what a lot of these are. Not all of them, but a lot of them. It's got this great warm sweetness, the spiciness off the top tempered with that leather. The oud, more of just a dark, spicy woodiness, keeping it very wearable, but at the same time, a little bit mature. Very well done for sub 20 bucks. The quality here is crazy. That's a great one that kind of flies under the radar a little bit. And a lot of that may just be, you know, the name, the presentation style, because yeah, it's gaudy in the sense that it's like a big gold bottle, right? It is plastic, but still. But when you compare this to the look of this, or this, it doesn't quite grab your eye as much. Still, really well done. Up next is a fragrance that I've seen in my local TJ Maxx the last couple of times that I've been there. It is this one, Ramz Silver, and this is about 20 bucks. That is a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultramall, and a very well done clone as well. Now, the most popular Ultramall clone is going to be Afnan's 9 p.m. And that one does have a little more push than this one, but for the price point, $20, this is just as good. In terms of notes, it has pear, lavender, bergamot, vanilla, amber, and mint. Really good evening fragrance or daytime fragrance. Big attention grabber, good compliment puller. It's very sweet, but at the same time, extremely versatile. And that's one that pretty much anybody can wear. Younger guys, middle-aged, older guys as well. If you like Ultramall, you can wear this. The next fragrance you can get for $15. That is about as cheap as you will ever find anything. And it's Ejaazi Intensive Silver. Now, to be fair, this is not really one of my favorite Lattafas. It's a clone or similar to by Kilian's Vodka on the Rocks. And it's actually not an awful clone. It's just when you take a look at the presentation and everything and the not very great atomizer, it makes it feel a little bit lower end than some of the other ones. But this could be a hidden gem for a lot of people out there, especially if they do like Vodka on the Rocks from by Kilian. In terms of notes, it has orange, cedar, sea notes, amber, grapefruit, and moss. So it's gonna be very fresh, very clean. Also has an interesting sweetness. The citrus is not overly bright or anything. It doesn't have any rindiness to it. Gonna be more of a spring, summer fragrance, early fall as well, and leans more toward daytime use also. Then we've got Ishq Al Shuyukh Silver, and this one is very, very well done. It's about 35 bucks. It is a clone of 1 Million Lucky from Paco Rabanne. And if 1 Million Lucky should ever become very difficult to find and the price should go up, this is the first thing you're gonna wanna scoop up, other than backup bottles, of course, of 1 Million Lucky. So in terms of notes, this one has lemon, bergamot, pineapple, black pepper, vanilla, and cedar. It's one that's really good for spring and fall, also winter, I feel like. And that's actually one of the better Lattafa clones. That is extremely well done, just top-notch stuff. I know, like I've said a couple times now, maybe the bottle doesn't catch your attention as much as like Khamrah, but this is right up there with Khamrah. This is really, really solid. Shaheen Silver up next, and we're gonna go through a number of different bottles that kind of have like similar aesthetics to an extent. Like you can see that these are the same as far as the bottle itself goes. They just change the cap and change what's on the front here. And so sometimes with these, they can run together a little bit. You might not immediately remember which is which. Shaheen Silver, about 28 bucks. And that is a clone of Aventus, which for some people is gonna make it a little bit boring because there are so many Creed Aventus alternatives out there. There are dozens and dozens of Creed Aventus clones. And that's one to add on top of the pile. It's got bergamot, cassis, patchouli, oak moss, musk, and rose. And even though Aventus alternatives are boring because there are so many of them, that is really well done. It concentrates a little bit more on the fruity side of things, but it has a nice tartness to it, like a little bitterness actually. And that's gonna come from that cassis, which I know maybe you hear that, oh, bitterness, that doesn't sound very good, but it is. It gives it a little bite and gives it something slightly different. But at the end of the day, it is an Aventus clone. Is it the best of the best Aventus clones out there? I wouldn't say that, but is it really competently done with a little twist? Yes. And of course with Aventus, you can wear that anytime, anywhere, any place. Now we have Qiam Silver. This is 30 bucks, and this is a clone of Bulgari's Tiger. Note-wise, you've got grapefruit, ginger, ambroxan, musk, and vetiver. Pretty simple. It's a really fresh one, very sweet, very citrus forward. Has that zingy, fresh spiciness from the ginger. I feel like it smells very high quality, high class. Extremely versatile for spring and summer. The most popular Tiger clone is probably Afnan's Tarothi Blue, but this can compete with that one. This one is, in my opinion, an excellently done Tiger alternative. So if you want something that's gonna stand out during summertime, this would be a great choice. And then can't talk about that one without this one, which is Qiam Gold. And whereas silver was 30 bucks, gold is also 30 bucks. actually. And this one is Ombre Nomad from Louis Vuitton. So another really popular fragrance being duped with this one. In terms of the note breakdown, it has saffron, raspberry, leather, patchouli, oud, and benzoin. I think to my own taste, between silver and gold here, I do prefer silver a little bit more. Gold is well done. The leather comes across quite prominently with the saffron off the top. Some people might even think of like some of the Tom Ford leather fragrances because of that saffron mixing together with the leather with a little raspberry in there. So while there's silver and gold, they don't smell alike at all, but actually it kind of makes sense in a way. This one would be more spring, summer. This would be more fall, winter. So I guess with these two, you'd be covered in all seasons. So that one is Ombre Nomad. On to the next. And that will be this one, Woud. About $25 for this, and it's a clone of Kenzo Homme Eau de Toilette Intense, which, truth be told, I'm not a massive fan of Kenzo Homme Eau de Toilette Intense. I like some of the others in the line. I like Kenzo Homme Eau de Parfum. I like Santal Marin, but Eau de Toilette Intense doesn't really work all that well off my skin. And this is immediately apparent that that's what this is. So if you like Kenzo Homme Eau de Toilette Intense and you want an alternative, this will get the job done for you. In terms of notes, it has sea notes, pink pepper, vetiver, sandalwood, and patchouli. It's got an interesting, almost green kind of aquatic feel to it with a good amount of sweetness off the top that lingers through into the mid. Pretty good push on this one as well. Gonna be more spring, summer, and early fall. And then last but not least, Art of Arabia 1. This one a little more expensive than some of the others. It's about 36 bucks, and it's similar to Imagination from Louis Vuitton. It has bergamot, mint, black tea, ginger, lavender, and ambroxan, and it is ultra brisk, classy, refreshing, quite green with the bergamot, the mint, and the tea right off the bat. And that could, you know, strike some people a certain kind of way. Like if you don't enjoy having black tea mixing together with mint, then it may not be for you. It's very zingy, very poppy when you first spray this one on, grabs attention right away. And with this being one of the higher end Lattafas, it does have overall a little bit of a nicer quality. And while the bottle looks very similar to these other ones, it's actually slightly different. It's a little bit taller, but it has a very similar aesthetic. So there we go, guys. There are the first 15. There are many others to go. Before long, I'll have part 2 of this out, covering some more Lattafa fragrances and do some other buying guides for some other clone brands as well. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.